As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, the hospital stood quiet and still, nestled within a community that thrived during the day, but slumbered peacefully at dawn. The air was crisp and fresh, infused with the delicate scent of dew resting on the grass. Birds chirped softly in the trees, their melodies weaving a gentle backdrop as the world slowly woke up. Nurse Mia stepped out into the cool morning air, ready to start her shift. She loved these serene hours before the chaos of daily life unfolded within the hospital's walls. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more. And tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. The main entrance glowed softly with the warm light of lamps, casting a golden hue across the pavement. As she made her way through the empty parking lot, she took a moment to appreciate this quiet. An intermission before the symphony of hurried footsteps and ringing phones began. Inside, doctors reviewed charts and prepared for their rounds. It was a time when conversations were hushed and laughter felt far away. A peaceful pause that made every person present feel connected by a common purpose. The staff shared knowing glances, each aware that soon they would be pulled into the whirlwind of patients needing care, families seeking comfort, and chaos that would soon fill every nook of the building. Outside, the hospital's lawn remained peaceful, bordered by flower beds starting to bloom beneath the fading chill of night. A soft breeze danced through the leaves overhead, creating ripples that flickered like whispers among nature. It was just after 6 o'clock when something began to stir. A shuffling movement near a cluster of trees caught unnoticed by most busy workers inside. As Nurse Mia walked back toward her colleagues for morning briefings, she was unaware that this tranquil scene was about to change dramatically. Meanwhile, George, the security guard on night duty, sat at his station sipping coffee as he monitored screens displaying various angles around the hospital grounds. He leaned back in his chair and yawned. It had been an uneventful night shift so far. The clocks ticked away quietly until suddenly one camera feed flickered with unexpected activity. George jerked upright. Squinting at the screen, he couldn't believe his eyes. A majestic lion ambled into view. At first glance, it seemed like something out of a storybook or a wildlife documentary rather than an ordinary morning at a hospital. George rubbed his eyes and leaned closer to ensure he hadn't imagined it. His heart raced as he focused on the video feed. There it was. A full-grown lion striding confidently onto the lawn. The big cat paused to sniff at flowers and explore its strange new environment, as if it were an unbothered king surveying its territory. He quickly grabbed his radio, trying to suppress his excitement while calling for backup. We have a situation out here. There's a lion on the hospital lawn." The words tumbled out of his mouth in disbelief as he wondered if anyone would take him seriously. Back inside, some staff dismissed George's call as prank or exhaustion talking until they noticed members of the security team rushing out through double doors toward the lawn. Curiosity took hold like wildfire. Soon enough, whispers turned into loud exclamations as medical professionals gathered by windows or stepped outside to see for themselves what had disrupted their early morning calm. "What? A lion?" Mia questioned incredulously as she stood alongside fellow nurses peering wide-eyed outside. Is this even real? They could hardly believe it. Nature had broken through in such an extraordinary way, turning their peaceful dawn into something truly unusual. While others stood in awe watching from behind glass walls or gathering near entrances with startled expressions painted across their faces, Nurse Amelia pointed her phone toward the unfolding spectacle. She couldn't resist capturing this unique moment with her friends online. After all, how often did you see a lion in your workplace? The tranquility of dawn now burst with energy as laughter mingled with gasps of disbelief filled the air surrounding them. Yet, amid all this excitement, remained a pressing concern. What would happen next? How could they ensure everyone stayed safe, while marveling at this magnificent creature roaming freely, so close to their everyday lives? As dawn continued unfolding, its golden-painted hues across rooftops and tree branches swayed gently overhead, one thing became clear. Life at this hospital would never feel quite ordinary again after such an unforgettable sighting had graced its grounds. With hearts racing and imaginations ignited within every observer present that day, they couldn't help but wonder how this unbelievable event would change everything around them and spark intrigue throughout their entire community and beyond. The morning continued on its peaceful path, with the sun climbing higher in the sky and illuminating every corner of the hospital grounds. Inside the security room, George sat adjusting the knobs on his outdated monitor, feeling slightly drowsy as he sipped on his second cup of coffee. The night had been long, and the monotony of watching empty hallways and parking lots had begun to wear on him. His fingers danced over the buttons as he flicked through camera feeds, first to the front entrance, then to the emergency exits, and finally landing on the feed for the hospital's sprawling lawn. Just as he was about to navigate away from that view, a movement caught his eye. A flash of brown and gold suddenly disrupted the serene scene displayed on his screen. George squinted and leaned closer, unsure at first if his tired mind was playing tricks on him. "What in the world?" he muttered under his breath. He rubbed his eyes again, fully intending to dismiss this as another case of sleep deprivation. But when he looked back at the screen, there it was. A lion. A full-grown lion moving gracefully across the lawn. His heart raced as adrenaline surged through his veins. This wasn't just any creature. This was a magnificent beast, roaming freely right outside a hospital. George's initial disbelief quickly transformed into urgent alertness. He jumped up from his chair, nearly knocking over his coffee cup in excitement and panic. "Ah, guys," he called out into the radio to other security personnel stationed nearby. "We have a situation out here. There's a lion on the hospital lawn." His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. A mixture of thrill and anxiety coursed through him over what could only be described as an extraordinary sight. Through his own disbelief, George also felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility wash over him like cold water. How did it get here? Is anyone else seeing this? His mind swirled with questions, even while he remained fixed on the live feed. The lion wandered casually among flower beds, sniffing at blooms that seemed to pulse in color under his careful exploration. Just then, another guard named Paul entered the security room, after hearing George's frantic call over the intercom radio. Paul raised an eyebrow as he approached, clearly skeptical but curious at what compelled George's unusual urgency. With swift hand gestures, George pointed towards the screen, displaying an image straight from a wildlife documentary rather than their ordinary hospital life. "Look," George exclaimed, a mix of awe and astonishment making it hard for him to contain himself. Paul squinted at first, but soon let out an incredulous laugh, punctuated by equal parts surprise and unease. "No way! Is that real?" Paul asked incredulously, while leaning in closer to examine every pixel displayed across the screen. "Yes, it is currently walking around, on our lawn," George replied vehemently, still unable to fully grasp what they were witnessing together. For a moment longer, both men stood transfixed by the sight. The lion showcased its majestic stature against blooming flowers, while its mane caught glimmers of golden sunlight filtering through treetops overhead. It strolled leisurely with such confidence that George marveled at how tranquil it appeared despite its raw power. Yet even amidst their fascination lurked an underlying tension. George's mind raced with images of chaos, patients exiting ambulances or families gathering nearby, completely unaware that danger loomed just beyond their view. A wild animal now prowling close by made everything feel uncertain. "We've got to alert everyone," George declared firmly before reaching for his radio once more, readying himself to report back to any medical or security staff within earshot regarding this unusual occurrence unfolding just beyond. Their walls, with anticipation humming between them like electric energy in charge of change rippling through air, thick with uncertainty. They needed action. Meanwhile, outside in bustling corridors, where nurses prepped carts filled with supplies, everything was set in motion to serve patients depending upon them. Not knowing their morning routine would soon pivot dramatically due to an unexpected encounter with nature itself. As they shared bewildered glances back at each other, the sheer improbability began sinking deeper into both guards' thoughts. No one ever anticipated a lion would arrive uninvited outside a busy hospital amid human lives moving seamlessly around them each day. Until today, the combination of awe and concern blended into resolve. They would figure out how best to manage this situation while keeping everyone safe without losing sight of such a breathtaking event occurring right in front of their eyes. As George and Paul stood transfixed by the sight of the lion, a flurry of questions filled their minds. How had this magnificent creature ended up so close to a busy hospital? The theories began to swirl around them like leaves caught in a gust of wind. One possibility loomed large. The nearby wildlife sanctuary, known for housing various exotic animals, had recently reported an unexpected breach in security. A freak storm had knocked down several trees that night, causing a section of the fence to collapse. Local news reports had mentioned that wildlife officials were scrambling to assess the damage and ensure all animals were accounted for. Could it be that the lion had escaped during that brief window of chaos? George recalled hearing about the storm from his colleagues earlier. "That must be how it got here," he said, excitement creeping into his voice as he connected the dots. "It must have wandered off during the storm and made its way over to us." Paul nodded thoughtfully, but pointed out another angle. "Or maybe it came from the zoo across town. I heard they were doing some construction work near its enclosure. Perhaps one of the fences wasn't secured properly." They both shuddered at the thought. A lion on the loose could pose significant dangers, not just to humans, but also to itself. Meanwhile, as more security staff gathered in the room, each person brought their own ideas about how this extraordinary situation could have unfolded. Someone mentioned that lions are known for their incredible sense of direction and adaptability in wild settings. Perhaps the cat simply followed its instincts towards areas where it sensed food or shelter. Among them was Emily, another guard who had extensive knowledge of wildlife behavior from her studies in biology. "Lions are incredibly curious creatures," she chimed in. "It's possible it wandered away from where it was kept, driven by instinct or curiosity." She shared stories of how similar escapes happened before, discussing instances when wild animals sought out new territories in search of food or mates. The team began piecing together what little information they could gather about local zoos and sanctuaries nearby, trying to confirm whether anyone was missing a lion. "We should check social media and news outlets," Paul suggested urgently, while glancing nervously at George, who continued to monitor the live feed showing the lion on the lawn. Outside, other staff members remained oblivious to much of this speculative chatter. Nurse Mia had finished her early morning tasks, made her way toward the break room when she noticed a small crowd forming around windows. A mix of confusion and intrigue registered on her face as she approached with a sense of unease thickening in her throat. "What's going on?" Mia asked a nearby nurse named Tara, who was scrolling through her phone with wide eyes. "There's a lion outside. Can you believe it?" Tara blurted out, still trying to wrap her head around what she was saying. Mia felt her heart race. This certainly wasn't something she expected on any given day at work. The idea that such an animal was roaming freely right outside their building sparked concern within her mind. What if it became aggressive or frightened? What if patients were outside? Back in the security room, George tapped furiously at his keyboard, searching for updates regarding local wildlife incidents while keeping an eye on the live feed. He hoped for confirmation on whether authorities were aware of any missing animals and whether they needed assistance managing this unexpected visitor. Meanwhile, as adrenaline coursed through everyone present, from security guards to nurses, the atmosphere shifted from curiosity to urgency. The potential danger intensified as they imagined what would happen if this escapee decided to explore beyond its current territory, entering directly into more populated areas where people were coming and going day after day. With each passing moment spent watching their screens and knowing that news would soon spread beyond these walls, they understood that this story would not only impact their lives today, but ripple through their community like waves crashing against rocks. Determined to act quickly, yet carefully amidst growing anxiety, the group decided they would need assistance from local animal control services before anyone ventured too close without proper support. They began calling different offices while still monitoring every movement captured on camera. The lion remained calm for now, but time felt crucial. Together, they formed plans involving radio calls and coordinated communication with authorities, a united front readying themselves for whatever might unfold next. As questions lingered and worries swelled, one thing became increasingly clear. No matter how this incident began, its impact would echo far beyond just one hospital's lawn. As the situation unfolded, George remained glued to the security monitors, keenly aware that this lion sighting was a moment that needed to be documented. The high-definition security cameras positioned around the hospital captured every second of the lion's exploration, providing an extraordinary video record that would soon make headlines. The first footage displayed on the screen showed the lion stepping cautiously onto the lush green lawn, its golden fur glistening in the soft morning sunlight. The camera angles shifted smoothly between various feeds, painting a vivid picture that highlighted how effortlessly the wild creature moved through its surroundings. The sound was muted, but one could almost imagine the soft rustle of grass beneath its paws as it meandered along, occasionally pausing to investigate the vibrant flowers blooming nearby. George zoomed in on one particularly mesmerizing scene. The lion appeared fascinated by a cluster of bright sunflowers swaying gently in the breeze. It leaned down cautiously, sniffing at the petals as if they were a whimsical puzzle waiting to be solved. "Wow," he whispered, his voice laden with awe. "It's as if it's never seen flowers before." Paul leaned closer to get a better view as George expertly manipulated the camera controls. Every flick of his wrist switched views, allowing them both to witness how this magnificent animal explored its newfound territory. Then came a moment when the lion lifted its head, seeming alert and intentional, as if it sensed something beyond the hospital grounds. "Do you think it feels out of place?" Paul wondered aloud, noting how uneasy the animal seemed at times despite its natural confidence. The lion would pace back and forth, occasionally stopping to scan its surroundings with piercing eyes that spoke of wild instincts honed over years in nature. George followed its movements intently, mostly worried about how quickly a curious creature could shift into a frightened or defensive state. "We need to keep monitoring it closely," he stated firmly. If it gets too agitated or feels threatened, things could become much more serious. The screens display different angles of the lion, exploring further into flower beds and moving toward the bushes lining the edges of the lawn. Holly and Ryan, two other security guards who had joined them after hearing urgent radio calls, stood watching alongside George and Paul, sharing gasps of disbelief at every new bit of footage. "This is going to be incredible for news broadcasts," Ryan said excitedly, while pointing at one feed where staff members outside stood slack-jawed in shock. "I can already see headlines. Lion roams hospital lawn. People will have to see this." His enthusiasm was evident, but George quickly reminded him of their current priorities. Safety first. As word spread among hospital staff and even patients peeking out from windows, more onlookers directed their gazes toward where they knew something remarkable was happening. Footage, recorded by security cameras, soon reflected this frenzy. People gathered near entrances and stared wide-eyed from hallways or lounges in disbelief. While some watched with fascination, others couldn't help but feel anxious about potential consequences. George thought about those families due for visits or terminal patients who might want to step outside for fresh air. Would they feel safe amidst such surprising chaos? With every minute that ticked by into the unfolding drama on screen, a parade of brave souls willing to document an incredible moment shaped by both beauty and risk. The anticipation grew heavier in the air around them, like thick fog settling too close for comfort. George reached out for his radio once again. It was vital for them to communicate with animal control officers quickly before they approached this majestic visitor unprepared. Keeping everyone informed became paramount as local authorities prepared for their response based on security's real-time observations coordinated with live visual confirmations across multiple camera feeds around campus. If we can capture as much of this as possible without endangering anyone or ourselves, George instructed his fellow guards, we'll have the evidence needed for investigations later. By now, entranced with both duty and wonderment, each jolt of excitement coursing through their veins drove them to actively watch and mitigate risks, all while capturing stunning imagery of a beautiful creature seemingly lost but undeniably alive in an unfamiliar space. With shifting perspectives amongst collaborating staff, every frame presented not just documentation, but storytelling, capturing raw moments commanding respect. This lion's adventure played out against an ordinary backdrop turned extraordinary. Little did they know how viral these recordings might soon become, igniting curiosity and discussions far beyond hospital walls. As the news of the lion's presence spread through the hospital, a wave of excitement and disbelief washed over both staff and patients. Many rushed to windows and doorways, eager to catch a glimpse of the majestic creature roaming freely on the lawn. The atmosphere transformed into one buzzing with energy. Laughter mingled with gasps of astonishment as people shared their thoughts about this extraordinary event. Nurse Mia, who had just finished her morning rounds, found herself swept up in the excitement. She joined a group of nurses gathered near a large window overlooking the lawn. "Can you believe it?" she exclaimed, pointing toward the screen where they could see security footage displaying the lion sniffing at flowers. "A lion, right here." Tara, one of her colleagues, clutched her phone tightly as she recorded snippets of video to share with friends later. "This is insane. I'm going to post it online," she said between fits of giggles. The thrill of witnessing such an unusual sight overshadowed any worries they had about my safety. In another part of the hospital, patients in waiting rooms peered out from behind glass walls, some sitting in relative silence, while others expressed their disbelief vocally. A young boy named Timmy, who was visiting his grandmother, exclaimed loudly, "Look, Mom, it's like a real-life movie." Can we stay here forever?" His wide eyes sparkled with joy as he watched the lion explore its temporary territory. Timmy's mother chuckled softly, but couldn't help feeling a bit anxious. "I don't think this is what they meant by wild animal therapy," she replied with a nervous smile, while still watching intently. She felt torn between wanting to keep her son entertained and worrying about potential dangers nearby. Meanwhile, in the break room, Holly and Ryan discussed how truly remarkable it was that such an event could happen at their workplace. "This will be a story we tell for years," Ryan said excitedly as he gestured animatedly with his hands. "Can you imagine telling your friends you saw a lion while on duty?" Holly nodded in agreement, but added thoughtfully, "We need to remember that this is still serious. We have patients to think about." She glanced back toward the window, where they could see security staff maintaining order as more people gathered outside. While many were enchanted by the unexpected visitor, some staff members couldn't ignore their responsibilities. Nurse Mia returned to her duties after sharing brief moments of laughter with colleagues. She knew that while everyone else reveled in this novelty, patients still needed care and attention throughout the excitement. As George continued monitoring security feeds from the control room, he noticed how each camera picked up different angles, showing not only fascinated staff, but also curious families that had come to visit loved ones within these walls. He made sure to capture every moment. These reactions would soon become part of a story larger than anyone could have imagined. The atmosphere inside shifted slightly when Emily spoke up about safety concerns during one conversation among guards who were watching footage together. "We need to make sure there's no chance someone accidentally gets too close or tries to approach it out there." Her serious tone reminded everyone that amidst all this wonder lay genuine risks that needed addressing. Outside onlookers couldn't resist snapping photos or filming videos. Smartphones raised high above heads turned into new tools for documenting this surreal experience unfolding right before them. People shared laughs and exchanged comments. Children pointed eagerly while adults looked on, both astonished and protective over their families. One elderly gentleman seated on a bench near an entrance chuckled heartily as he recounted tales from his youth about encounters he had experienced with wildlife during travels abroad. Stories filled with adventure that brought back nostalgia for simpler times long gone by. "Back then," he reminisced aloud to no one in particular, but drawing attention nonetheless. "We didn't have cell phones or cameras, just memories." He smiled warmly at those listening around him before returning his focus onto the lion, now approaching a shaded area beneath some trees across from where everyone stood, gazing in delight. As minutes passed into what felt like hours filled with wonderment surrounding this hospital lawn, everyone present understood they were witnessing something extraordinary. A moment etched into memory, forever woven into their lives, intertwined amidst caregiving routines, turned lively spectacle unlike any other day. Whether laughing children or cautious elders peering out from hallways, they all shared in experiencing something magical together. The kind of experience that reminded them how unpredictable life can be, bringing unexpected joys along with challenges lurking just beyond ordinary circumstances each day. As the spectacle of the lion continued to unfold at the hospital, the excitement quickly spilled beyond its walls. Staff and patients were not the only witnesses. Many began sharing details about the unexpected visitor on social media platforms, igniting a viral sensation that would grab attention worldwide. Within minutes, Tara, the nurse who had been recording videos on her phone, posted a clip on her personal Twitter account. In her excitement, she captioned it, "Just another day at work, with a lion on the lawn. Lion at the hospital." The post included a short video of the lion sniffing flowers, looking majestic against the lush greenery. As she hit send, She couldn't have anticipated the frenzy that would follow. Tara's friends and followers reacted instantly. The likes and retweets began pouring in as people expressed their astonishment. "Is this real?" one tweet exclaimed. Another user shared a GIF of a lion with wide eyes, capturing the essence of surprise felt by many. Within an hour, dozens of people had shared her post, each adding their own comments about how unbelievable this situation was. Meanwhile, George and his fellow security guards were glued to their phone screens as well. The hospital's official Twitter and Instagram accounts had begun posting updates about the lion sighting too. Breaking: a lion has been spotted on our hospital lawn. We are working with animal control to ensure everyone's safety. Read one tweet accompanied by footage from their security cameras, showing the lion leisurely exploring its temporary territory. The post went viral almost immediately, with people across various social media platforms expressing shock and delight. Memes started circulating within hours, images of the lion combined with captions like, "When you realize it's Monday," or "Just here for my checkup." Each new creation added an element of humor to an already fantastical situation. News outlets quickly caught wind of what was happening and began reaching out for interviews or more information. Local television stations ran live broadcasts featuring footage shared online alongside interviews with hospital staff who had directly witnessed the event. Reporters commented on how surreal it was for such an extraordinary occurrence to happen in an urban setting. Meanwhile, pet-loving influencers jumped on board, hastily posting photos of lions in general, alongside messages encouraging everyone to show respect for wildlife and recognize their habitats. A popular animal rights advocate even chimed in. "We need to talk about why this lion was outside a hospital instead of somewhere safe." As videos spread across Facebook and Instagram, hashtags like #Lion on the Loose and #Hospital Lion began trending worldwide. People from different countries joined in discussions about lions and wildlife escapes, fascinated by how something so extraordinary could happen in such an everyday setting. "Can you believe this is happening in our town?" One woman from Australia commented under a viral video that captured Timmy's excited reaction to seeing the lion through a window. Other users shared similar sentiments, wondering how life can bring together moments of magic that defy explanation. With interest growing by leaps and bounds, the atmosphere inside the hospital shifted again as employees turned their attention from ensuring safety to celebrating spontaneity. They felt part of something larger than themselves, united under a phenomenon that transcended borders through digital connection. Outside, crowds converged around the hospital grounds while animal control officials arrived on site to assess the situation further. The combination of exhilaration mixed with worry charged conversations among observers who whispered tales about lions from books or movies they loved growing up. There was also palpable concern among parents keeping their children close as they basked in this unique moment unfolding before them. By late afternoon, news articles detailing everything from footage captured within security feeds to patient reactions filled online headlines across news sites everywhere. This unexpected encounter would soon become more than just a tale. It transformed into a symbol illustrating how unpredictable life can be, while reminding everyone that even ordinary places can host extraordinary visitors at any given moment. As people continued sharing snippets online, funny comments blended seamlessly with heartfelt moments. They recognized they'd collectively witnessed something remarkable that day. A story sure to be remembered through generations, fueled by humanity's love for animals paired with spontaneity, ultimately bringing them closer together. As news of the lion on the hospital lawn spread, wildlife experts began sharing their insights on the unexpected situation. Many expressed both awe and concern over the arrival of such a majestic creature in an urban setting. Dr. Maya Lin, a renowned wildlife biologist and behaviorist, was one of the first to comment on the situation when contacted by local media. The behavior of this lion can be understood through its instincts, Dr. Lin explained during a live interview. Lions are naturally curious animals, especially when exploring new environments. The lion you see on the hospital lawn is likely seeking food, shelter, or simply investigating its surroundings. Her voice carried a mix of fascination and caution as she spoke. Dr. Lin went on to emphasize that while lions are impressive creatures, their presence in urban areas can pose serious safety risks. The fact that this lion has wandered into a populated space indicates a breakdown in safety measures at either a nearby zoo or wildlife sanctuary. It's crucial that we ensure these facilities have secure enclosures, she stated firmly. In another interview with wildlife conservationist Tom Rivers, he echoed similar sentiments while highlighting the importance of managing wild animals' habitats. Wild animals belong in their natural environments. When they encroach on urban spaces, it often leads to conflict, both for the animals and for people. We need to understand why this happened to prevent future occurrences. Rivers pointed out that increased urban development often pushes wildlife closer to human habitation, creating a higher likelihood of encounters. We must consider how we're encroaching upon their territories, he added thoughtfully. Instead of just reacting to their presence in our cities, we need proactive measures such as creating wildlife corridors that allow safe passage for these animals without intrusion into human spaces. With growing concerns about public safety, experts recommended several safety measures to follow when wild animals are near urban areas. First and foremost, Dr. Lin advised, it's essential for local authorities to swiftly assess situations like these. They should establish secure perimeters around the area where an animal is spotted, ensuring that bystanders maintain a safe distance. In addition, she emphasized the importance of education for the public regarding interactions with wildlife. People often don't realize how dangerous it can be to approach wild animals out of curiosity, she noted. Education campaigns can help inform communities about respecting these creatures and understanding their behaviors. As many people watched the live footage streaming from the hospital grounds, hopeful for a peaceful resolution with minimal disruption, others remained wary about potential ramifications if the lion were to feel threatened or panicked among crowds of curious onlookers. Social media platforms buzzed with questions surrounding this incident. What would happen next? Would animal control take swift action? Would anyone be harmed? Experts like Dr. Lin and Rivers stepped in further through interviews to clarify procedures and reassure the public that animal control teams were trained professionals equipped to handle such situations appropriately. Meanwhile, local authorities worked diligently with animal control specialists who arrived on site readying themselves for capturing the lion safely and returning it to its natural habitat without harming it or any bystanders. Capturing a large predator requires a strategic approach, Rivers explained during one news segment featuring footage from inside Animal Control's van prepared for action. They will likely use baiting techniques to lure it into an enclosed area before safely transporting it away from populated spots. As discussions continued online and interviews aired across various platforms, the messages from experts offered comfort amidst unease, assuring everyone that professionals prioritized both public safety and animal welfare above all. In subsequent hours after initial reports spread, wide-ranging effects began unfolding. News organizations began collaborating with each other for thorough coverage, while social media influencers took time out of their day to discuss ways communities could better coexist with local wildlife through thoughtful preparation and awareness, instead of knee-jerk reactions driven by fear alone. By shining light on both understanding animal behavior alongside addressing safety precautions, the conversation reached deeper than just this singular event. It transitioned into greater dialogues surrounding how humans and wildlife share spaces together in modern times, where boundaries blur due to urban expansion. Ultimately, experts reinforced their message louder than ever. We must respect nature while protecting ourselves. Cooperation between humans and wild animals is essential not only for safety, but also for preserving harmony within our shared environment. As news of the lion on the hospital lawn continued to spread, the local community quickly rallied together, turning the hospital grounds into a lively gathering place filled with excitement and curiosity. Families, children, and residents hurriedly made their way outside to witness what had become a sensational urban spectacle. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as people exchanged animated chatter while they shared in this shared experience, an event unlike anything most had ever encountered. Parents held their little ones close, their hands clasped around the excited children's fingers as they approached the hospital. The little ones' faces lit up in awe as they imagined meeting the majestic creature that had ventured into their world. A cheerful mix of laughter and chatter filled the air. Children eagerly pressed their noses against windows, hoping for a better view of the lion, while their parents snapped photos to capture the moment. "I can't believe there's a lion just outside," shouted 8-year-old Oliver, his eyes wide with excitement. "Can we bring it home?" His friends laughed, and his mother shook her head with a smile. "Not quite. But how cool is this?" she replied, amused by her son's wild imagination. Just past the hospital entrance, a small group of onlookers gathered, forming a semicircle to gaze at the lion who was still exploring the lawn under the watchful eyes of security staff. Mr. Thompson, an elderly man known for sharing tales of adventure with neighborhood children, recounted stories of lions he had seen while visiting Africa years ago, gesturing passionately as others listened in disbelief. "This one is smaller than the ones I saw," he joked lightly, leaving out critical details about how very close they stood to an actual lion. Local businesses got creative too. The nearby cafe offered complimentary drinks to anyone who promised to contribute to their Lion Chase Fund, turning it into a fundraiser while simultaneously encouraging patrons to support animal conservation efforts. The event drew even more families as word spread about delicious snacks and news reporters arriving to cover the unfolding scene. In the middle of all this commotion was Emily, a dedicated nurse and animal lover, who glanced out at her own team. She turned toward the gathering crowd and noticed groups of children eager for information about the lion. Feeling inspired, she organized an impromptu session outside near the entrance, where she could speak about wildlife safety and proper respect for animals in natural habitats. "Everyone, gather around," Emily called out with enthusiasm, raising her hands to grab attention. "I'm here to talk about lions." The children's curious faces turned toward her, along with their parents who were also interested in hearing what she had to say. Emily explained what was happening from a safety perspective, the importance of giving wild animals space and respecting their instincts. She answered questions from children whose curiosity bubbled over like hot lava. "Are lions friendly?" one little girl asked solemnly. "Lions are beautiful creatures, but they're wild, so it's best to admire from afar," Emily patiently explained, reinforcing that while this situation was unusual and exciting, it also required mindfulness of safety for both people and animals. Meanwhile, social media continued fueling interest across different platforms as additional snapshots began emerging. Pictures of smiling families combined with clips of laughter, swirling amidst brief moments of wonder when they spotted the lion lounging or playing among flower beds on the lawn. Outside, police barricades stretched along streets, while chaos ensued moments after animal control officials established quick perimeters while managing curious crowds at bay. Community members remained alert yet thrilled as they awaited further updates about how authorities would capture and relocate the lion safely. Soon enough, local news stations arrived, providing a broader audience access into this once-in-a-lifetime moment transforming before everyone's eyes. Excited chatter grew louder as residents shared humorous anecdotes or light-hearted worries about how the lion would influence their daily lives moving forward. A few older residents recalled earlier encounters with local wildlife that grounded them. Tales drawn from experiences with deer wandering through neighborhoods or raccoons rummaging through trash. None could compare to encountering a lion within city limits. Yet fearing potential consequences or negative impacts weren't lost on many thoughts. They knew that alongside excitement also lay responsibility surrounding protecting habitats for creatures left displaced by an ever-encroaching urban environment. As day turned into night and city streets hung under drifting moonlight, a collective sense emerged from within community members gathered outside. The spirit of unity, forged through shared disbelief, witnessed throughout history, would bind them closer still than before after this remarkable event unfolded. Without a doubt, they understood something larger than individual stories combined. All were partaking in togetherness, shined bright during uncertainty meeting joy. Each chime echoing long after wild tales quieted under ordinary stars twinkling peacefully above. As excitement swirled around the hospital grounds and the community gathered, local authorities swiftly began to take action in response to the lion sighting. Within minutes of the alarm being raised, animal control officials arrived on site, fully equipped and ready to handle the situation with utmost professionalism. Their bravado instilled a sense of confidence amidst the buzz of onlookers, eager yet anxious about how the lion would be safely captured and relocated. The first step for the authorities involved establishing a secure perimeter around the hospital lawn. Officers set up barriers to control the crowd, keeping curious spectators at a safe distance, while ensuring that no one accidentally wandered too close to the big cat. With careful coordination, they directed families and onlookers to designated viewing areas where they could observe from afar while remaining safe. Animal control specialists introduced themselves to George and his fellow security guards, sharing their plans for capturing the lion without causing alarm or distress. "We've dealt with situations like this before," said Tim Johnson, the lead animal control officer, as he laid out their strategy. "Our primary goal is to get the lion back to safety without harming it or putting anyone at risk." Tim explained that they would use baiting techniques, luring the lion with enticing scents from meat placed in a trap designed specifically for large predators. He emphasized that patience would be key. Lions are naturally cautious creatures, and rushing the process could lead to unwanted anxiety or panic. As preparations began, animal control officials deployed surveillance cameras to monitor the lion's movements more closely. This additional footage would help them assess its behavior and patterns throughout the day. The goal was to wait until it settled into a feeding pattern that would make it easier to capture without causing alarm. Meanwhile, as word spread among residents waiting outside about what actions were being taken, community members felt reassured by the experts' calm demeanor. Some even applauded when Tim shared updates about their efforts over a loudspeaker set up for attendees. "We appreciate your patience. We are working diligently to ensure everyone's safety while capturing our furry friend." In parallel with animal control operations, local law enforcement coordinated with emergency medical services in case of any unexpected incidents. They stationed personnel nearby who were prepared for anything that might arise during this unusual event. Everything from potential medical assistance for onlookers feeling faint from excitement to planning routes in case evacuation became necessary. As hours passed and anticipation grew, Many individuals stood glued to their phones or eagerly watched live news coverage reporting on how authorities were managing this captivating incident. It wasn't just a story about an escaped lion. It had morphed into something larger, an unfolding drama that united people through shared hope and concern. Finally, after several hours of patient monitoring and strategic bait placement near areas where the lion had shown interest earlier in its exploration, there was a breakthrough. Excited murmurs rippled through the crowd as observers could see movement near one of the traps set with fresh meat, a large slab of beef that had been strategically positioned. "Look, it's approaching!" shouted Oliver from earlier as he clutched his mother's hand excitedly. The crowd collectively held its breath, eyes wide in awe as they witnessed nature unfolding right before them. With expert precision, animal control staff maintained their distance while using gentle coaxing techniques to encourage the lion toward safety. After what felt like an eternity, but was merely a few moments, the lion approached cautiously toward its meal source. Then came a rustling noise when finally, success. The trap gently closed behind it as cheers erupted loudly from those gathered outside. People embraced each other in celebration while others recorded videos of this triumphant moment. It was indeed surreal witnessing something so extraordinary come together beautifully amid all initial chaos. Once secured within specialized containment equipment designed for such majestic beasts, the animal control team carefully transported it away from populated areas towards safer regions beyond city limits, where it could be rehabilitated back into its natural habitat under suitable conditions. As news of their success spread swiftly through social media channels, a sense of relief washed over everyone present at the scene, celebrating what had transitioned from mere excitement into cooperation, manifesting unity amongst community members supporting each other throughout this adventure. By dusk settling, while gathering crowds dispersed slowly into twilight, they couldn't help but feel grateful for having witnessed not just an event, but also how collective action fostered harmony between humans and wildlife alike, turning an extraordinary moment into lasting memories bound by love for nature itself. The day after the lion's unexpected appearance on the hospital lawn, the buzz of excitement had transformed into a wave of reflection and discussion throughout the community. News outlets continued to cover the aftermath, sharing stories from witnesses and experts alike, while social media remained ablaze with conversations about the event that had captured everyone's attention. Local residents exchanged anecdotes about their experiences, and many were still in awe of how a lion had wandered into their urban environment. At the hospital, staff members gathered in break rooms to talk about the remarkable experience they had shared just hours earlier. Nurse Mia noted how surreal it felt to have witnessed such an extraordinary event at work. "I never thought I'd be telling my grandchildren about a lion right outside our window." She laughed as she recounted the events to her colleagues over coffee. Meanwhile, George reflected on how quickly things had escalated from excitement to concern as they worked to ensure everyone's safety. "It was incredible seeing everyone come together like that," he remarked. "But we have to understand how this happened and what we can do to prevent it from happening again." His thoughts echoed a shared sentiment across town. While it was an unforgettable spectacle, it raised serious questions about wildlife management and urban safety. As news reports continued pouring in, interviews with wildlife experts emphasized the need for improved safety measures at nearby zoos and sanctuaries. Dr. Maya Lin reiterated her call for secure enclosures during a follow-up segment on a local channel. "This incident highlights vulnerabilities in our systems," she said passionately. "We must ensure that wild animals remain protected and that they don't end up wandering into populated areas." In response to this unique situation, local authorities convened meetings with zoo representatives and animal control officials to discuss strategies for better securing animal habitats. They proposed regular audits of enclosures and increased training for staff on emergency protocols in case of escapes. The city even considered implementing educational programs for residents regarding wildlife awareness, encouraging them to respect natural habitats while understanding how human actions could encroach upon them. Community members were eager to contribute. Inspired by recent events, parents formed groups aimed at raising awareness about wildlife issues in their neighborhoods, emphasizing conservation efforts and proper interactions with animals in their habitats. Some organized educational workshops meant for children, teaching them about local wildlife through fun activities while instilling respect for nature's inhabitants. Additionally, local businesses banded together to support these initiatives by sponsoring events focused on wildlife education and conservation fundraising efforts. Cafes hosted discussions where customers could learn more about animal safety while enjoying themed treats inspired by the lion story. A clever way of promoting environmental stewardship through community engagement. In schools, teachers began incorporating lessons related to wildlife safety into their curriculums. Students learned not only about lions, but also about other animals native to their area, their behaviors, habitats, and ways of coexisting peacefully with humans. Field trips were planned to nearby wildlife sanctuaries, where students would observe animals up close while learning about conservation efforts firsthand. As days turned into weeks following the lion's capture and relocation, reflections on its presence lingered in conversations around town. It became an emblematic moment that united people under shared values of cooperation and education amidst uncertainty. Town hall meetings attracted attentive audiences eager for updates. Families continued visiting local parks, discussing what steps were being taken towards safeguarding both wildlife and human communities alike. In retrospect, while there was initial chaos resulting from that memorable morning when a lion appeared out of nowhere, what emerged afterward painted a brighter picture than anyone anticipated. Conversation shifted from mere astonishment surrounding this singular encounter toward actionable steps aimed at preserving harmony within their ever-evolving environment. With heartfelt gratitude resonating through every story told, every program initiated, every child educated, the community found common ground amid uncertainty, forged deeper bonds dedicated towards both understanding nature alongside ensuring lasting protections against future incidents like this. Ultimately, this remarkable chapter served as a reminder that moments of unpredictability could lead not just toward awe, but also toward collective responsibility, shaping futures built upon unity.